Well, again, welcome back, everyone. This next session is of great anthropological significance. I would like to invite Jade Begay up on the stage right now. She is an Indigenous rights and climate organizer and narrative strategist. She will be taking us on a journey to Alaska. She herself made a very long journey from Alaska to be here with us today. Jade, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So honored to be here. My name is Jade Begay, as was just mentioned. This morning we're gonna talk about a upcoming film that is about the community of Newtok in Alaska, and we're gonna start by hearing from Marie Mead, who is a Yupik elder from this community. And Marie is gonna just set the tone as if she was here. You know, we would begin with like a cultural welcoming to get us grounded, to get us into a place which Marie would set for us in her cultural way. So very shortly, we're gonna see Marie Mead on screen, and she'll welcome us into the space here. Good morning, Marie. Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. So good to have you here, Marie. I was just sharing with the audience that we're going to begin today's session with you giving us a welcoming and setting the tone for this morning, and sharing a bit about your cultural and give your cultural ways, and getting us grounded into this space.
Okay, waka chamai inga atka akhnauko nunapichok miumunga yupiuvo. Hello, good morning. My name is Marie Akhanak in Yuhtun, in my language. That's my Yupik name, Akhanak. And I am from Nunapitchok, and I am a Yupik Eskimo. So first of all, I'm honored to be here today with you all at this Climate Week NYC. You all who are here gathered, here to discuss and figure out ways to solve climate crisis. So, Kuya Nakfa. So I am, like I said, I'm a Yupik Eskimo. So the Yupik Eskimos are, the region is Southwest Alaska, the southwest corner of Alaska. And we are Eskimos, well, known to be called Eskimos in the world, but we are, we call ourselves Yupik, and Central Yupik. We are one nation, one group of all the Arctic, all the way across the Arctic Eskimos. So here in South Central Alaska, we have Alutiiq, which are related, you know, they're part of the Eskimo family, language family. And then southwest, which is the Yupik, my region. And then going up north is Inupiaq, like speaking Eskimos, called Inupiaq, Inupiat. And then Canadian North is Inuit. And many people in the world have heard that word Inuit. And Inuit is the Canadian North Eskimo people. And then Greenlandic, also Greenlandic Eskimos. So we're all Eskimos all the way across Arctic. So Central Yupik people are about, the population is about 21 to 24,000. Today, the Yupik Eskimos, and Newtok, the Newtok film that we are about to see a trailer, the film, in our language we call it Newtok. That is in our language the village of Newtok, and the English term or English pronunciation is Newtok. So Newtok story is part of this climate change crisis that we are experiencing today. It's part of the story that tells, what's happening in our world today. So Newtok people today, half of the population, about 400 people, I guess total, are now relocated to the new site, Machtagvik, across Ninglit River. Newtok sits right along Ninglit River, which is a very huge river. And so Newtok also what is not that old of a site, and original people of Newtok were also, before relocation, were located further away from Newtok, further away from along the Ninglit River in the village called Kayaliwik, and that's where my family is originally from. My family, during the relocation of Kayaliwik people to Newtok, relocated to inland tundra region.
Marie, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is a great segue. We're going to ask you more about this migration story in just a moment. But I wanted to, just because we're working in this time frame, and I know an hour is never enough time to talk about these issues. We've been talking about these issues for decades, and it's still not enough time, right? So just to keep on our little schedule here, I want to move into the clip. And well, before I do that, actually, I want to introduce some of the filmmakers and introduce you as well, get more into your bio. So we're going to pause, and I'm going to start introing some of the other folks who will be joining us today. So as Marie shared, she is UPX scholar at the University of Alaska, Anchorage, author of numerous anthropological texts on the Yupik people. As you can tell, very knowledgeable about all the historical context and the lifeways and traditions of the Yupik people. And additionally, she works and travels with the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. She has direct familial roots to the village of Newtok and the broader Yukon Kushkum, sorry, I might have pronounced that wrong, Delta. Throughout the production of this documentary film, she conducted dozens of hours of interviews with Newtok community members in Yupik, advised the editorial decision-making of the film, translated all the Yupik dialogue to English, and sat on the editorial advisory board of the film. Thank you so much for all your work on this film, Marie, and we'll come back to you in just a moment for a Q&A. So there's other folks joining us here, as I mentioned, and those folks are the filmmaking team of this film. So Michael Kirby-Smith, co-director, co-producer of the Newtok documentary film. Michael is an Emmy-nominated filmmaker and photographer. He has worked extensively for the New York Times as a photographer and senior video journalist as a director of photography on feature and episodic films for documentary clients. His award-winning photography has been published by the New York Times, National Geographic Magazine, Time Magazine, and the Whitney Museum of Art. And now introducing Andrew Burton. Andrew is a Pulitzer Prize finalist, documentary filmmaker, and photographer with a focus in news, conflict, and environmental issues. He is a former fellow at the University of California, Berkeley's investigative reporting program. Welcome, guys. Good to have you here. And congrats on the film. I just want to review the short synopsis. Water will erase Newtok, Alaska, built on a delta at the edge of the Bering Sea. The tiny Yupik village has been dealing with melting permafrost, river erosion, and decaying infrastructure for decades. To keep their culture and community intact, the 360 Yupik residents must relocate their entire village to stable ground upriver while facing a federal government that has failed to take appropriate action to combat climate change. In moving their village, they will become some of America's first 20th century climate refugees. It is a Verte project of a village seeking justice in the face of climate disaster. And indeed that they deserve justice. So in this moment, I just want to urge all of you to pull out your phones. We're going to have a call to action pop up on the screen here, and with films like this, it's important to have impact run alongside it and be embedded into the project. So we're going to have this call to action, and I'm going to ask you all to text Newtok to the number that is pulled up on the screen. Hopefully that was integrated and we'll get it all synced up. But when that moment happens, just would so appreciate you taking that course of action so you can be plugged in into the various impact strategies that are going to occur within this film. So Marie, going to come back to you for some questions. So traditionally, your community is a migratory community. This community was not ever really, before they were contacted by forms of colonization and assimilation through the Bureau of Indian Affairs, your community, your people were migratory peoples. You moved with the seasons, you hunted and went where the food was. There we go. So yeah, would appreciate this, that course of action. But yeah, Marie, so as a migratory community, and now a community who has been displaced, I'm curious what home means to you, especially now going through the various processes that you've gone through and that your community has gone through.
My home.
What does home mean to you?
It means sheltering and survival, nourishment, stability and foundation, everything provides food for me, and just continuation of life that is helping to maintain the culture, the people, to be healthy, and all of that. That is home for me, where I can be provided with all the nourishment that I need, medicine from the land, food and clothing and sheltering, home, protection, all of it. That is how home feels to me. And, you know, the biggest part of being home is the land, the environment, the water, and, you know, what the land provides for you. That's home.
I'm hearing that home is your relationship to land, and home is also identity that, you know, the land informs in many ways. Can you speak to that, the ways that the land and the Yupiaq identity are intertwined?
Everything, you know, that relates to the land, your relationship to the land, you know, it's all part of your identity, your language, the words that, you know, it's all part of it comes from the land, and all, you know, nature, the environment, and everything that goes with it, the winds and how you observe everything that makes, that helps to keep everything in balance, everything that, all of life that surrounds where you are, that's your relation, you know, the relationship all that you have with the land. And we have so many ways that we can keep everything together in balance, all the restrictions that we follow, we practice to help maintain a healthy environment. And all of life is, and the humans that live on it are all related. We have all work together to keep everybody in place and be happy and be healthy.
Thank you, Marie. Yeah, I think not to give too many spoilers or spoil alerts, but you know, this film does, and it's been reported, it's in articles as well, that this community did not opt for the option of just being paid off to move somewhere else to become urban Alaskan natives. It was critical to this community to stay with the land, that if they were moved into an urban place, they would lose that relationship. So I just think it's important to note that as we're seeing climate migration become a bigger issue, especially for Arctic communities and coastal communities, that you can't pay these communities off. You can't displace them and write them a check. There's deep relationship to land that must be considered and upheld in these types of scenarios. So I want to move over to you all, Michael and Andrew, for some questions. What does it mean to stay in commitment and in community with this place and with these people? And what kind of values or principles have you built or maybe obtained throughout the filmmaking process? You know, we know that you aren't from the community, and we all, in the filmmaking industry, we're aware of this concept of extractive storytelling, where we helicopter in, or we can, it's being worked on a lot nowadays, but in the past it was a pattern to like helicopter in and take a story and leave. And obviously that's something that I'm sure you all are working against and striving for, building better relationship with this community. So what does that look like?
Yeah, Newtok, we worked on this film for 6 years, and that was just an enormous honor to get to work on a project for that long. Our backgrounds are in journalism, and traditionally it was a huge luxury to work on a story for maybe a month, to have that sort of time. And when we first went to Newtok and started documenting in 2015, I don't think we realized the scale of the story we were attempting to tell, the story of this village attempting to relocate. But through the process of that, it was an incredible learning lesson into community and commitment to people and commitment to story. And Newtok has gone from something that was going to be sort of a story we told for a brief period of time to a sort of a fundamental part of our lives. We now consider the community close family and friends. We intend to continue to document the story for years to come. This film that we have coming out in a few months is just one portion of a much larger body of work about climate refugees in the United States and what adaptation and resiliency and mitigation looks like during a climate crisis. So.
Yeah, I think just to kind of echo what he was saying a little bit, I mean, I think as, documentary photographers and filmmakers, oftentimes when you're on assignment, you have a very, specific time to cover the story. With this story, one of the things that we learned very early on was that that we had to change our sense of time. We had to kind of get to know the community in a way and to document it at a pace that was fitting culturally, and that we were, making sure that we were being open in how we were kind of approaching the filmmaking that we were doing. If that makes sense. So.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm curious if we still have time for another question to just end with Marie. Marie, I'm curious, what does the community need now most? What kind of action would you like to see from community members in Alaska or nationally? What kind of policies would help and support your community? Just here during Climate Week, what can we be doing to support your community through this climate migration and this climate crisis?
I guess I would say for everybody to really start listening and in all parts of this world. This is everywhere.
Oops. Seems like we're dealing with some Zoom issues. Can you hear us, Marie?
Arden?
Okay, now we can hear you. We were just having a little trouble hearing you.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that I guess for me, I would say that the best thing that we can do now as human beings on this planet is to really start, talking and listening to one another and to hear stories from all parts, corners of this planet, hear and to cooperate and to collaborate, find ways and discuss. So my community, many communities in Alaska, lowland, marshland,
I think we're all used to Zoom cutouts by now. We're having a little trouble with the connection, Marie, but I think what I'm hearing is just the simple act of talking about this challenge of climate change. Is that right? Oh,
hear hear each other's voice, speak.
I feel like it's cutting out like right when she's giving the good nuggets, but yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, Marie. We're having just connection issues, but we're all used to it by now, and we all can have grace in these moments. And I think, yeah, I'm hoping that I can speak a little bit for Marie and just the importance of building community and relationship in this time. It really comes down to that. As I work on climate justice issues, especially in Indigenous communities, and throughout these types of crises, it really matters, like the bond you have with your neighbor, the bond you have with your community members, to be able to get through these crises together. So I think that's a really beautiful action for everyone to take just on that individual level. You know, who can you talk to, who can you reach out to as your community is facing a hurricane, a wildfire, all of those impacts that we'll be sure to see more of, sadly, but it is what's happening, and acknowledging the reality is also what I heard from Marie. It's happening, it's not coming, it's here. The climate crisis is real. So we look forward to learning more from Marie and all the other folks in the Newtok film. Can you tell us more about what we can expect with the release? And
yeah, the film comes out in a few months. We were lucky enough to partner with Patagonia Films to finish the film. And we're really excited to bring it out into the world, and we thought today would be a perfect venue to debut the trailer. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, well, thanks Nest, and thanks Patagonia. We'll throw up the call to action once again. And again, that ask is just to text the number, text the code to the number they provide, so that you can follow along that impact campaign to support Newtok and their fight for climate justice and support during their migration. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate you all.
Thank you.